is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm back with those laminated pieces with the stickers that we used these recently in a video, and yeah, I did say that I had some more to use. So these are the rest of them. Unfortunately, I can't remember whether I've actually got more of these stickers or whether I've used the whole pack. But anyway, absolutely loved playing with them previously. So I thought let's come along and do some other little bits and bobs with them today. So as you can see, what I've done, I've taken the stickers and I've just laminated them like 4 to a page. So I've spread them out quite wide so they're not, you know, on top of each other. So in the last video, they were placed closer together and we fussy cut them out. This time, what I want to do is make pieces, you know, using, you know, the bigger piece that's laminated, if that makes sense. So you will see obviously what we're going to do in a moment. So I've got here some other papers with me. So this is from my Paris collection, and I thought that this flower in particular looks absolutely stunning with these papers. So I'm going to use this as my kind of base piece. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this out. And unfortunately, now looking, I should have actually put them even further, you know, spread even further. But that's fine. We're just going to kind of go with it and make the best of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this down here. Now, need to be a little bit careful. So I'm going to place it onto the paper and I'm going to cut the laminated sheet along with the paper. So, oh gosh, I feel really nervous cutting into this because obviously, you know, I'm hoarding, or I was hoarding the, you know, laminated sheets because I loved how they looked. So obviously if I muck them up, you know, that's it. I mean, hello, muck it up. Look at that wonky cutting. That's terrible, isn't it? Absolutely terrible. So I'm just going to try and straighten this up a little bit. Oh my goodness. Not going well so far. Right, there we go. Okay. So like that. And then what I thought we could do is make little envelopes with this. So I'm just going to kind of bring it down to where I think. Do I want to have the flower lower or do I want it higher? I mean, to be honest, I like it both ways. I think probably lower is better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut it kind of flush there with the bottom of the piece. So like that. Okie dokie. Like that. Now, this is going to give me a sort of squarish envelope. My gosh, my cutting is so bad today. Okay, right. So what I now need is obviously a piece to have as my flap of my envelope. So just going to move these. Well, I'll move it all out the way. Otherwise, it's probably quite hard to see what I'm actually doing. So move that. Oops. Move that out the way. Now I've got my pot here, or not pot, my cup. That I'm going to do some coffee dyeing with. So we're going to dye the back of the paper. So I'm not going to dye this paper. This is going to be kind of glued down onto the page, but I want to dye the inside, what is going to be the, you know, the flap of my envelope. Now, just need to choose what I want as the actual flap. So just going to kind of see what's going to look quite nice coming over here. I mean, that's quite nice, to be honest. Right, so I'm going to just cut this down like that. Okie dokie. Now check that that's kind of, yep, more or less, you know, more or less the size. Now what you could do at this point is actually pull in an envelope, and I'm sure that I have got some, to use as a template for your envelope flap. Now obviously these are much bigger envelopes, but I'm thinking like if you put it there, you could just use that, you know, judge by eye, kind of the center, and you could use that to get your shape for your envelope flap. So I might do that. So I'm going to obviously lose a lot of the you know, the pattern and the colour, but that's fine. So, my gosh. So literally just cut that around your envelope flap. Just going to have to round that little edge off because obviously I didn't round that at the time. There we go. Right, well, it's looking pretty wonky, but that's fine. So if I put that then here, oops, at the top of my envelope, I'm going to just move this out of the way. In fact, I'm going to do it on the white side so as it will be easier to see. Okay. So then what I can do, actually, I'm just going to move this slightly more because otherwise it was not very level. There we go. So what I can do now is obviously fold my flap where the envelope flap would be. Let me just check that that's going to be, yeah, like that. So okay, and I'm just going to squish that down with my scissor handles. Now, obviously you could use, you know, double-sided paper or anything like that and just fold it over. The reason I've done it like this is just because I didn't know how big my envelopes were going to be, if you see what I mean, or where I wanted the flower positioned. So for this piece of paper, for example, I then didn't have any paper at the top that I would be able to use. So by doing it like this, it gives you the most flexibility because obviously then you can obviously create your flap exactly sort of where you want it and where you need it. Now for this, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm just moving it down fractionally, and I hope that I remember this when I go to the sewing machine, because what I want to do is probably stitch it slightly lower than the top of the back card so that I've got, you know, sort of, I don't know, a couple of millimeters here to play with to be able to put my pieces in and out. So what I'm going to do is just before I take it to the sewing machine, I'm going to just coffee dye the inside of this paper. Oh my gosh, I've never seen such weak coffee dye solution. There we go. Like that. Okay, just so that my flap, when it lifts, isn't a stark white flap. Okay, now when that dries, I can stick that onto here, and then when I take it to the sewing machine, it will also reinforce it being stuck down. Okay, so I'm just going to put that to one side. So that seemed like a bit of a convoluted tutorial, so let's do another one. Now it might not be, you know, I might not use this particular page. I mean, that one's quite nice. Yeah, see what I mean? I really should have placed my flowers, you know, bigger spaces in between them. Obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. Next time I will know to do that, and so I will do that, but that's fine. I can use them here. So if I take those now, I'm going to just cut around here like this. Okie dokie. And then just cut this down here. Now I'm going to make this, I think, slightly smaller. Like that. Now I haven't decided where my flap's going to be on this one, so we'll decide that in a second. So, okie dokie. Now, so again, I'm looking to make an envelope, obviously. Now I could have an envelope flap here, folding over, or I could have it as a top loading envelope like that. I think probably I'm going to go with the top loading one. So again, what I'm going to do is just take my original envelope, just again place that down, you know, again, just judging by eye. Now, I did obviously muck it up on the last one, so I'm going to try and get this a bit better on this one. I don't know whether I will, but let's give it a try. Okay. So, like that. Okay. Oops. So, I mean, they're really handy, aren't they, to just use the original envelopes as a sort of template. So if I take this here, that would be my envelope flap. And again, just going to kind of fold it down here. Oops. Somewhere near in the top mark of the thingamybobs. Oh my goodness. This is not going very well. Right, just before I squish that, I just want to check that I've got it roughly. Yeah. So I just want to then squish this down. And again, then coffee dye the underneath flap. So just coffee dye that. Okay. That will be on there. So just again, put that to dry to one side. Right, let's do a couple more because I'm going to be taking these to the sewing machine. So to be honest, if I'm taking them to the sewing machine, I might as well do, you know, a few rather than just one or two. So let's pull in. I've got these. Now, this is my tea collection papers, and they're so gorgeous. I kind of lined these up before I actually, you know, switched on the camera, and don't they just look gorgeous? Absolutely love how these look. Pretty much every flower with everything. So yeah, absolutely love them. So I'm going to start with, I think, this one. Now, again, this is going to be slightly tricky. I so wish that I'd have thought through what I was going to do when I laminated these flower pieces, because they definitely, you know, could have done with being spread out further. You know, again, I know that for next time, if I ever do these again, you know, spread them out further. Right, just going to cut this down like that. Now, I need to be careful that I don't run into these flowers. So, like that. Oops. My goodness, what awful cutting there. Yeah, not good. Right. So again, just work out, you know, where kind of, or what way round you want your flap to go. I have made such a bad job of this cutting. I can't actually quite believe it. There we go. It's quite hard to gauge, to be honest, when it's kind of like sideways on when you're holding the paper. Right, now, do I want it as a top loading envelope, or we could have a side loading? Right, let's have a look. So now I want to use this image here with something. So I might be best off cutting this one as well before I cut into the paper further to make the flap, I think. So this is really tricky. Do you see what I mean? I'm so annoyed with myself for not spreading these flowers further. It's just really irritating. Wish I'd thought. But, you know, I mean, at the time I didn't know what I was going to be doing with these. So, you know, we can all be kind of like cross with ourselves, can't we, after the event? But until you know what you're actually planning on doing, it's quite hard to plan for it, isn't it? Right, just going to cut that across there. Okay. So now, let's have a look. Yeah, so I'm going to cut this down here, and then need to trim it off across the top. So yeah, okay, right. Oh, really tricky this is. You know, because you want to kind of like make sure you're getting them cut, you know, where's going to look best. But yeah, until you cut them, it's quite hard to tell, you know, what you're going to like best. And then, of course, don't want to cut in and then think, oh no, you know, did the wrong thing. Right, let me just cut this separately to the laminate. That would probably be a bit easier to get a straighter edge, maybe. Although not that it's doing me any favours so far. Oh my goodness, a wonky edge there. Right, okay, so then this, so again, going to bring it down so that I'd have, like, you know, a larger pocket in there. Just check, yeah. Right, so let's pick what we're going to have as the flaps. So do you have some of this paper? I don't know. No, it doesn't really go, does it? I thought perhaps I would be able to be clever and mix and match, but no. Who was I kidding? And obviously, I mean, you don't have to have that traditional shaped envelope flap. You know, you could have something else. So, I mean, to be honest, what we could do is we could have this. Oh, I was going to say this side, but yeah, not brilliant. Could have it that side. The thing is, I'm then blocking out that bird's face. But having said that, I block out the bird's face up there as well. But I guess at least I've got the flowers. Oh, let's just do this, shall we? So, right. Okay, so let's cut this down. Okie dokie. Right. Just going to try and straighten this up a bit on this edge. Oh my goodness. Like that. Okay. And then just going to put it here. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do, just going to trim this down here. Okay. Oops. So it's hopefully the same-ish size as my sort of base. Okay. Oh my goodness, look at my cutting. What is going on with me today? It is appalling. Absolutely appalling. Right. I mean, to be honest, I think this is part of the problem because I've made such a mess of this one. It's just going to be one of those days, I'm afraid. Right, okay. So then I'm going to use, have I got some other... No. Oh, this is annoying. Got a deconstructed envelope here, so yeah, let's just use this. All I'm trying to do is get, you know, round my corners here. So yeah, just check that's roughly the right size. It is. And then just literally put this down here. Okay, because it's going to be a, you know, long sort of side flap, so it just needs to be slightly different shape, obviously, to the other envelope flaps that we've done. Oops, oh my goodness. Right, that one. Not doing a good job today. So yeah, I do apologise. Probably not the best day to do a tutorial, is it? But never mind. Hopefully you guys can gauge enough to get the idea. Right, okay, so let's move these out the way. And yeah. Go along here. Oh my goodness, look at my envelope flap. What has gone on there? I mean, could that be any more different? It looks terrible, doesn't it? Let me go in and just reshape this one according to the much bigger one. There we go. Right. Oh my gosh. Awful crafting. Dearie me. Right, okay, so let's bend this down. This feels quite difficult to do, this one, because it's quite long, so it's kind of like difficult to bend in. Maybe just because it's so unforgiving, you know, because there's so much of it visible. Oops, if I get my fold wonky, it's going to be really noticeable. Whereas the other one, obviously, a bit smaller, not quite as noticeable. There we go. Right. just check out this. There we go. Like that. Okay, well that's okay actually. Oh gosh, I mean, what a palaver trying to get that right. Okay, let's ink this. No, let's copy dye this envelope flap again. Okay. Like I say, I mean, you don't have to do that, but if you like to have your, you know, insides of your paper coloured rather than white, then it's probably a nice thing to do. Right, I'm just going to quickly straighten my edge because this is obviously going to be the edge that it's going to be, the flap's going to be glued against. So, you know, it would just be beneficial if it was straighter. Okay, and then let's check here because this is also not very straight. Oh my goodness. What a rubbish job I'm doing. Okay, right, not too bad now. So, yeah, that can go in. Just moving it over again slightly so that I've got the little sort of couple of millimetre space there to be able to obviously put things into the pocket. So just put that one out of the way. Right, okay, let's do another one. And then, yeah, I will be taking all of these to the sewing machine. And obviously then once I've stitched them, we'll come back and just see how they look. So we've got this one now. Oh no, we've run out of the paper except for this piece. And I don't feel like this one is quite right on here. Unless I cut that flower off. I don't know why that flower is... To me, that doesn't feel like that's kind of looking quite right on there. Let me just see. This section. I mean, we could have something like that, to be honest. I mean, how ironic. I didn't like the flower on the other one, and yet this one, for some reason, I don't seem to mind. Or do we prefer it like that? Let me just cut this down. Okay. Maybe I prefer it like that. Okay, so again, take that out of the way just because it's, you know, it's kind of like in the way a bit. So, yeah. Put this on here. Cut this down. Like that. Okay. Just going to try and straighten the base up a little bit. Oh dear. Oh, now I'm wanting to hoard this. I mean, what's wrong with me? Tiny piece, why would I want to hold that? I have no idea, but yeah, I do. Right, okay, so we've got this, and then we want to make this into an envelope flap. Now what we could do now, do we want to have it shaped? Just see what the shaped piece kind of, oh yeah, because then we see the bird. Okay, right. So again, I'm going to make a terrible job of this. I can just tell. Okay. So, right. Oh my goodness, this is not going well at all, is it? Okay. Does that look kind of roughly half? Roughly in the middle? I don't know. Do you know what I don't think is helping is where it's not straight. Let me just try and straighten this up. Maybe that will be easier. I don't know whether that's going to make a big difference, but let's have a look. Okay, pop that there. Oh my goodness, come on. Let me just see. I mean, that looks to me like that's dead on when I turn it over, but to be honest, once I've cut around it, I will probably discover I was way out. Way out. So, yeah. Okay. There we go. Let me just snip that around. Oh my goodness. Okay, right, okay, let's put these in the bin. I mean, do you see what is going on there? What on earth? Rubbish, absolutely rubbish. Right, let's just see if I put it like that. No, you see now that's completely lopsided. So weird, isn't it? Right, I'm now going to have to do that little trick again where we just kind of like shave a bit off here. Honestly, just try and get the gist of this and just don't follow my lead or anything of how to do these, but yeah, try and kind of like just take the initial idea and then, you know, use your method to do it. So okay, oh my goodness, no. Right, now this paper that I'm using, by the way, I should have probably said, this is 230 GSM. It's the presentation paper, you know, like photo paper. Again, you could probably use thinner paper. I obviously, you know, I just thought that these would be nice and robust, but I'm sure that, you know, probably thinner paper would work fine. The only thing is your envelope flap is going to then be a little bit more flimsy. That being said, envelopes themselves are paper, aren't they? So they are kind of flimsy. So, you know, I'm sure that would be fine. Yeah, I mean, for me, I just thought, oh, use the thicker because I don't want to be tearing the flap. But having said that, like I say, actual envelope flaps are made from paper and they're, you know, they're perfectly robust, aren't they? So I'm sure it would be fine. Okie dokie. So that's going to come down slightly like that. And then obviously I will trim up the bottom and things, you know, once we've done it. So there we go. Right, I've just got these bits left, which did bring along some more of my Paris collection papers. Now, obviously, like I say, because I really should have put these flowers further over, the flowers are now going to be a little bit in the way, I think, if I make more of these. Oh, I mean, that one's okay, actually. Although then I'm going to have to cut through the opera house, which let me just pull in this because I also bought along another sheet of the Paris collection papers. So just see. I mean, you might find that it's just a case of, you know, trying to find the right paper to make these types of things. So this one is okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut it down here like this. And then, you know, we'll just have a smallish envelope. So, okay. Right, let's just cut this down the bottom. And like I say, you can obviously trim these up afterwards. So, all right. Oh my goodness. Let's go in and trim this down now. Because I've again done very wonky cutting. Oh my goodness, it's getting worse. Let me do it separately. Trying to do obviously the laminate and the, you know, the base paper at the same time. It's obviously not really great. So yeah, I'd recommend obviously, you know, get your shape or your size roughly and then do them separately, because that's going to just be a bit easier when you're then trying to get your straight edges. You know, I think it's easier to do it separate rather than together. Okay. Yeah. Okie dokie. So that's really cute, isn't it? So yeah. Now again, what way round do we want this envelope? Move this out the way. Move this one. Oh, I wonder if this would go with the this offcut. Oh, not really. It's not too bad, but it's probably a bit strange. But yeah, well, it's not too bad there actually. I'll have to have it that way round. I mean, I quite like it, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. That way or this way. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so again, just, oh my goodness, take that out of the way. Just going to cut this down here. Okay. And then, right, again, which, I nearly said which flavour. Oh, it's not just my cutting I can't get right. It's obviously my words. It's everything, isn't it? What shape? What shape do we want? Do we want it like this, or do we want it sort of smaller? Quite like it like that. Let me just see with the flowers, because we don't want to just cover them up completely, do we? So yeah, that's quite cute, I think. So okay, right. Oh, I don't know why I'm messing about with this, because to be honest, actually I'm going to do it straight, and the reason being is because I want to have the word Paris and I want to have the rose, and I just feel like actually if I go in with the straight edge, it's going to the triangle, it's just going to potentially cut off, you know, the flower and the word Paris, and then, you know, it's not going to really be kind of visible at all, and the paper might not really go quite so well without those two details. So that one, and then just going to flip this over just in case that's what happened last time, is that maybe I've trimmed into this somewhere before, and that's why the sides ended up so vastly different. I don't know, but let's try and just eliminate all potential kind of problems. So like that. Okie dokie, and yep, get that out of the way. Right, so it's going to be like that. Okay, so we just then again fold this over, just folding it over slightly. Oh my goodness. Yep, slightly down like that. Right, just before I squish it too much, I just want to check. Yeah, that's not too bad, is it? So okay, right, and again just coffee dye this on the back. Oh, what an idiot. Just tried to coffee dye it on the bit that's going to be glued down. Oh my goodness, what on earth. Right, I'm going to just rest this on my hot glue, because hopefully that will dry off like that. Okay. Right, I'm going to do a couple more off camera, because I'm sure this is pretty boring for you guys to just be watching me try and, you know, measure these up. Although, to be honest, I say that, I know that lots of you do say that you like to see all the bits. So perhaps I'll do it together, and then obviously if you don't like watching it, then you can always, you know, fast forward and not bother watching it all. Right, I've got this one. Now, this one I'm going to put with the Opera House. I have to say, again, thinking, why did I put those flowers so close together? But, you know, hey, it's just one of those things. I mean, I could potentially have both, but then it's going to be a really great big envelope, which, yeah, a bit weird, really. So which way round do we prefer this? It's going to have to go this way. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to have to do it like that. So I'm just going to cut this. Right, let's just, yeah, going to cut it down here first, just to make it slightly easier to work with. Like that, okay. Move that out of the way. And then here, oh my goodness, let's do like that, I think. Okay. Unless I have it further over, and then just cut into the, yeah, I think probably like that actually. So, right, okay. I'm going to cut up here. Okie dokie. Oh my goodness, this is awful, because I can't really see where that laminate is. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I've mucked this up a bit, but let's just cut down here. Okay, right. Let's get this out of the way. Get this little piece of plastic out of the way. It's not plastic, obviously, it's the laminate stuff, but hey, it's like plastic, isn't it? So let's have a look and see what we've got now. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's really cute, isn't it? So now again, just need to work out, do we want it with the flap at the top or the side? So I'm just going to trim this down so that it's a little bit squarer. To be honest, I actually didn't make too bad a job of this one. first one that I didn't make too bad a job. And to be honest, I've probably now mucked it up and made a worse job by trying to snip in now than I had done in the first place. The irony. And then, yeah, just trim down this edge as well. My goodness. Right, okay, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Right, okay, let's get rid of those bits. Now, do we want the opening at the top or at the side? I don't mind, to be honest, either way. Yeah. Right, let's have a look and see what we're going to use as the flap, because maybe that will help us a little bit decide, or to decide, perhaps I should say. Could have this as the flap, could have that. Oh, let me just see on the other sheet of paper. Kind of thinking this portion here. So yeah, if I just take my piece, pop it on so that I know roughly the size to cut that down. Cut it to. Okay, right, making a terrible job again. Right, this is going to look like a weird shape. Oh, it wasn't as bad as I feared it might be, actually. Right, so I'm going to cut this down slightly more here. Okay, now do we want this rectangular or do we want it with the triangle? I think probably the triangle. Oh, no, I've lost my template. Okay. Okay. Right. Like that. Okay. Oh my goodness. What on earth? Okay, right. Let's cut around here. Like that. And like that. Okie dokie. Okay. Fold this down again. Oh, is that, oh, that's probably one of the better ones that I've done, but oh my goodness, it was, and now look, I've mucked it up completely. Why did I do that for? I literally just that second said, didn't I? Oh, it's one of the better ones, and then I went in and just chopped into it and ruined it again. What did I do that for? Okay, right. Again, the hardest part is really folding this. I wonder whether it might be easier to actually fold it around the piece. Let's try. Yeah, maybe that's easier. So yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a tip, is actually fold it around your, you know, around your piece. It's kind of easier. Squish that down. Okie dokie. Right. Obviously, again, this probably all needs trimming down a bit, but that's fine. Okay, right. Just going to trim it down by, like, you know, just a really titchy slither both sides. 1, 2, like that. Hopefully. I could probably still come down a little bit more. Oh my goodness, I'll get rid of that. Oh, why have I got that on there? What an idiot. Oh. Right, okay. And then we'll just coffee dye this. I mean, to be honest, I think really for me, this is one of those projects that, you know, I'm going to love these once they're done. It's kind of an out of my comfort zone sort of project because it's quite fiddly. And for me, you know, I kind of like try and shy away from fiddly projects ever. So yeah, it's going to be just one of those where when I've you know, when I've completed it all and it's done, I'm going to be like, whoa, I love them. Actually, the making of them, I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? But that's the good thing, making them all in one go. You know, they're going to all be done at the same time. It's not like I've then got to come back and, you know, make more. They're going to all be done. So, you know, like while you've got the momentum going, it's okay. Right. It would be one of those types of things that, you know, like if I were to stop midway, I'd then be like, oh gosh, I can't face doing those again. But so long as I keep at it now, they're, you know, they're doable. They're not too bad. Right, so again, my little space obviously is going to be this side, so that my flap can be there. Right, okay, let's use the last couple. So I've got this one, and I've got these. Do I have a whole nother sheet? Oh, and I've got these. I'm not so keen on these flowers, it's got to be said, and I'm not sure they're going to match any paper that I've brought along at all. So let's just see. I don't think they're going to be honest. I mean, well, it doesn't look as bad as I thought. I mean, I wonder about with the hot air balloon. Again, just so cross with myself for not spreading these further apart, because, you know, they would work so much better if they'd been spread out more. Yeah, it's really annoying. Those, let's just try these couple of pink ones. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because they're now like in the middle of the paper, so they're not really working so well. So yes, if you're going to make some of these, a bit of a tip really is put your pieces much further to the side, you know, spread them over or spread them out much more, because trying to work with them when they actually were quite close together, it really then, once you've cut one, do you see what's happened is this is now just in the middle of the piece of laminate, so it's quite hard to then position it anywhere on the paper. So yeah, definitely with those. Let me just have a rummage through and see what other paper I've got. Hold on. Right, I'm back. So I did this one. This is again with my tea papers, and then I've made obviously a little long pocket. I must coffee dye that. Oh, I just threw my coffee dye in white in the bin. Hang on a second. Just pull that back out. Okay. Thankfully, there's nothing horrible in my bin. It's just paper and fabric. There we go. Right. Okay. So. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to glue my flaps onto the pieces. Now, obviously some are dry and some aren't, but the other thing that I just wanted to kind of mention was if you're wanting to have, for instance, you know, any lace or anything like that, oops, on your flap, not your flap, your, you know, your front piece, your acetate, now would be the time to do it, because obviously you can then stitch that across before you actually attach your, or, you know, assemble your piece. So I'm going to just glue this on here so that I remember what I'm doing. And then obviously I will stitch this. So I'm just going to put this, oops, put this down here. Like that, okay. Now obviously I'm not really expecting that to stay, you know, stay on there, but just as long as it stays on there enough so that when I get to the sewing machine I remember, you know, roughly what I was doing. So like that. Oh my goodness, is that even going to stay to that extent? I'm not sure. Okay, and that's going to just then glue to there. This is my flap for this one. This is still drying, unfortunately, so I can't obviously glue this one on, but this will glue here. And then I've just got that lace coming out underneath. So that's just a little tip, is if you're wanting to add lace or anything, I would do it, or, you know, I mean, it depends where you're adding it. But if you're wanting to add it to the, like the inner edge, now would be a good time to do it, because obviously you can then stitch that onto the sewing machine before you actually, you know, assemble it. I'm just wondering whether I might prefer that there. No. Unfortunately, I did tear this as well. It's got some hot glue stuck on there. And yeah, I then tried to wipe it off and obviously then tore it. So, you know, not brilliant. Now, where this one's obviously, you know, become a bit discoloured with the coffee dyeing, I'm just going to quickly ink around this a bit, because then it will tie in better with the colour now that the flap has turned. So just, you know, just ink it up a bit. There we go. And that will just, it just ties in better, doesn't it, colour wise? So yeah. Okay, and then I can just obviously glue this down. And obviously once you glue, once you stitch your front bit, it's going to reinforce this anyway. So although I am gluing it down, it's going to be reinforced with the sewing machine anyway. So this is just a kind of precaution, really. I mean, personally, I wouldn't probably use them without gluing them down. But, you know, I mean, I guess you could. If you're kind of braver than me, then I guess you could. Now, is this the... Oh, gosh, is this the piece? What have I done with the laminated piece? Oh, there we go. Wow, for a minute, I thought, oh, I don't believe it. I've actually lost it. There we go. So that's going to stitch on there. And remember, I'm going to stitch it back a bit so that I've got a space here to use as my envelope. So for this one, you know, for example, I might want to, you know, just attach a piece of lace or something, you know, somewhere else. In which case, you know, that's not a problem. I could then either stitch that or staple that at some other point. But it was just really, if you want it on this edge, I'd recommend doing that at the point of stitching. So I'm just going to put that one to one side. Okay, we've got this one. Just going to put that down like that. So again, I might want to just ink this up a little bit, because obviously where the paper, although I only coffee dyed it one side, the coffee dye has obviously sunk through and discoloured, you know, the other side as well, if you see what I mean. So just so as it ties in a bit better colour wise, I'll just obviously, you know, ink the inside as well. So again, just glue that down. Oops, it's got something stuck on there, bit of hot glue. Okay. So, I mean, they're just really, really, really cute, aren't they, to be honest? And I just thought something a bit different. And, you know, they won't kind of obviously look, you know, proper, if you see what I mean, until they're actually stitched on the sewing machine, and then you can kind of see them in use with, you know, perhaps something actually popped into the pocket or whatever. But yeah, I mean, then they're going to obviously hopefully look absolutely gorgeous. So that one, okie dokie, and this one, oh my goodness, what's the pocket for this one? Was it this? Yeah, okay. Right, now just need to make sure that I'm doing this in the right place, because I'm going to need to cut this down quite a bit. So I'm thinking move this down, and I'm going to just trim along here. Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, on the whole, I would say things don't matter if they're not perfectly straight, but they do matter a little bit more if you're gluing, like, say, an envelope flap, because how straight or not your edges is going to be a sort of guide for how straight your envelope flap will be glued on, if that makes sense. So if this is completely wonky, when you glue your envelope flap down, it's going to glue down completely wonky. So yeah, you just want to get them as straight as you can, really. Oops. Like that. Okay. So I've now moved that over. So much for what I was saying. Right, there we go. And then, yeah, this is going to be obviously a bit lower down. Now, do I want to have any of this just stitched across the top? Yeah, that's quite pretty, isn't it? So, in fact, just going to put that there. Just going to tuck it in. I'm not even going to bother gluing it, because, to be honest, I'm not sure the glue really held it in place very well, although Now it is moving completely, so perhaps I will glue it down. It's just really to keep them in place, because when I get to the sewing machine, chances are I'm going to forget completely, you know, what my plans were for each of these. So if I can kind of like keep the pieces roughly together, it's just a bit more helpful. There we go. And this one here. Okie dokie. Yep. Love this one. It's really pretty, isn't it? Okie doke. Like that. Oops, let me just get that bit of paper out. Okay. Put that one down like that. Sometimes the paper discolours more than others. I mean, this one hasn't particularly, but just in one or two places. So I just go around, you know, very minimally around the edge with some glue. There we go. And this is going to be on there. Again, let me just see whether I want any of this. No, it's going to cover that bird's face up completely. So again, you know, I could just maybe have some there. That's quite nice on the outer edge. So just right, I need to trim this one down, because if I'm gluing this to the outer edge, I'm not then going to have the sort of wiggle room for, oops, for trimming it down after, oh my goodness, afterwards. So yeah, just need to kind of like, you know, it's just a case of being aware really of what you're doing as you're doing it, because you know, sometimes you can kind of make life harder for yourself by, you know, you've stitched one piece and then realised that actually that was kind of your opportunity to have stitched something else, if you see what I mean, and then the opportunity is lost. So yeah, sometimes, you know, sometimes the stages that you do it, they're kind of, you know, they do matter. Oops, just knock that off. They do matter. You know, often they don't, but occasionally they do. Okay, this one. So, do we have that there? Yeah, and then like that. Were we having it there, or were we having it on the top? Oh, it must have been on the top. Do you know, I couldn't remember for the life of me with this one. Just kind of, I don't actually even remember doing this one, weirdly enough. Very strange. Okay. And I mean, the other thing is that's quite nice using the two different papers, you know, to do your envelope flap and your, you know, envelope base, rather than just using a bigger sheet of paper where you can fold it round, is that obviously you can use a coordinating paper, you know. So I have used here paper from the same page, if you see what I mean, for my flap. But you could mix these up now and use some very, you know, very different papers for some, you know, very different looks, which is quite fun to do. Right, so let's just see. No. Oh, maybe down there. That's quite cute. So again, obviously by the time I've left my little space there, you know, for putting pieces in, I just want to move this down slightly, like that. Okay, like that. Okie dokie. And again, going to just add some glue here. I mean, like I say, I'm not even sure that this is really gluing this down, but it's just holding it in place enough for me to remember to then stitch it on. There we go. Put that to one side. Right, last couple. So this one, the flap is still drying, so I'm going to have to wait with that, and as is this one. Now this one, this is my lavender collection papers, and again I did kind of muck it up a bit because I dripped some coffee dye on her face, went to mop it off, and obviously I've smooshed it on her face a bit, so ruined it a little bit. But This is now a paper one. So, you know, I'd said I'd done it all on the 230 GSM paper. This is on 110 GSM paper. So it's the only one that I've done in paper rather than in a sort of thicker card. So obviously it's still drying, but once it's dry and I glue it together, I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and then we can just sort of see, you know, how it works with a paper one. I think it will work fine. Like I say, you've just got to be aware that obviously this is going to be much more flimsy than with the others. But yeah, I think that will work fine. So I'm going to just kind of dry these off and then take them to the sewing machine. So I'll be back. Right, I am back. So this is how they look now that they have all been stitched on the sewing machine. And obviously they've got their, you know, the top slots there. Well, some have got top slots, some have got side slots, but aren't they just such gorgeous, cute envelopes? And then I just thought we'd just have one or two, you know, little plays with things that you can do then to kind of like further embellish them. So here I've got some sari silk. So we just take this and literally just going to glue this on here. Oops. So I'll just pop the glue actually straight down onto here like that. Okay. Oops, just pop a little bit extra here. Okie dokie. And then just, you know, I've got just a wax seal there that's just been ready-made, and can just, you know, glue that on there like that. And then to be honest, I mean, obviously because we've got the gold paint on the wax seal, I'm thinking maybe just add some gold paint around the edge. I don't know whether the gold paint would just kind of flake off from the acetate or the laminate. Yeah, I'm not sure. So let's just experiment and see. Fingers crossed that we don't just mess this right up, because that would be really gutting, wouldn't it, if we just actually muck it up completely. But let's just have a quick look. Okay, and just pop a bit of gold brown there. I'll just wipe it off a little bit, otherwise it's a bit, oh gosh, didn't really think of that, did I? Yeah, trying to wipe it off a little bit from the laminate. So easier said than done, because of course when you wipe it, it all just comes off. So yeah, not really thought of that, but anyway, just a little bit of gold there. It just ties the gold in from the wax seal. Hopefully that's kind of visible. I'm not sure how visible that really is, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of adds a little sort of something extra and ties in obviously the gold. So really, really, really pretty, isn't it? So that's just kind of one little thing that you could do with your envelopes. So I'll just pop that out the way somewhere. Oops, pop it there. So we'll take another one. Oh gosh, let me just quickly clean up my hands that have now got gold paint all over them. Oh my goodness, now look. Honestly, could I be any messier? Not really. Just, oh, disaster. Right, okay. So obviously you could just put butterflies on. I mean, I like to do things like staple things on, really, if I've done, you know, laminated pieces or the transparency film or anything like that. Because I think the, you know, shiny surface, it's just a weak spot if you're thinking that you're going to glue things on there. You know, sometimes the glue is really strong and really fine and holds it perfectly well. Sometimes it will hold it for, you know, a few years, couple of years. Sometimes for a few weeks, you know, sometimes not at all. So just kind of experiment around. But if in doubt, I mean, obviously double-sided tape is fantastic for gluing things down, particularly, you know, that tape with the red kind of backing. That works really well. But if you don't have that, then I think another alternative that you can use is just to staple on. So that's probably not the best colour. Butterfly on there. There we go. We'll have it on here. So you could just literally staple that. Obviously, you know, this is a pocket. So if you staple it kind of in the middle, you're going to be stapling through the actual pocket and restrict your ability to use it. So from that perspective, I would say staple, you know, to the edge more. So like that. And then you're not compromising the actual pocket itself. So just like that. How cute does that look? They're just gorgeous, aren't they? And, you know, they're just something a little bit different to put in your journals. You could always put flowers and things like that on. So, again, let's just take a couple of cute flowers. And again, using that same staple method. Please excuse my gold fingers now from where I obviously just dipped my finger into the gold, but so just kind of staple one and then the other one I'll have sort of bunched up really. Oops. Like that. Okie dokie. Oops. Like that. I mean, they're just kind of little additions, aren't they? I'm just wondering if I might... Oh, I think I've stapled through the green. I was going to say I might have preferred the green one on top. But anyway, doesn't matter. Too late now. You know, so they're just kind of little things that you can do. I might have to just staple that down again because where I've stapled it, it's, yeah, was kind of hanging out a little bit too much. So, and just to show you now how they would look, obviously, with a journal card inside. So, let me just grab a couple of journal cards. Oops. Now, obviously, the likelihood of me actually having journal cards that are the right size is very unlikely, but... Oh, dear. No, I'm not going to be able to find anything remotely the right size here, which is really annoying. Oh, well. Right. So obviously this is not the right size, it's not the right kind of journal card or anything like that, but just to sort of show you, obviously your pocket is up here. They look gorgeous, don't they? Because you've got the flowers obviously showing from the laminated pocket, but you've also got then the, you know, the pretty background paper in there. Let me just put it in here because it might fit completely in this one. There we go. Aren't they just such a gorgeous pocket? And obviously you could just glue them down, you know, 3 sides, and then you've got yourself, you know, a side loading pocket as well as your top loading envelope. Another thing that you could do, sorry, just before we go, another thing that you might like to do is if you wanted to put like a policy closure or anything like that on here, what you could do is, oops, grab your brads, grab your policy closure here like this, and obviously so you don't have to obviously glue it onto here or anything because of what we just talked about with the, you know, things not necessarily sticking brilliantly. You could either then put the other one down here, put your brad through the entire thing, so then you'd have, you know, policy closure, oops, top and bottom. Let me just get another one out to show you so to demonstrate this properly. So you'd have one there and one there tying up. Or what you could do is, let me just grab my baker's twine so that I can actually demonstrate this properly. So grab your twine. Oops. Okay. And what you could do is you could actually glue it underneath like that. And it would just come up from the underneath and wrap around there. So let's just do that just to kind of like demonstrate properly. So I'm going to glue this down at the on the flap. Okay. So just pop that on there like that. And then, oh, I don't think I've glued that quite in the centre, but hopefully it looks okay. And then take your baker's twine and then just glue it onto the back. Again, just, you know, roughly in the centre. It doesn't have to be, you know, too precise or anything. I like to kind of double it over so you've got a bit more like strength instead of just like a single piece of baker's twine. If you've kind of wrapped it round, it's just giving it a little bit more, you know, to hold on to. oops, get my glue threads gone. And then obviously this will then wrap up. So just cut this down. This will just wrap up then. Oops, sorry, just trying to put the baker's twine away. Like that from the bottom. So how gorgeous is that? Absolutely love them. But like I say, if you didn't want to glue the baker's twine onto the bottom, not that I think there's, you know, any reason why you wouldn't want to do that, because obviously it, you know, really quick and easy. But if you didn't want to do that, like I say, the other method would be glue your, or not glue, sorry, brad your bottom circle down the bottom, and that way you've only kind of compromised the pockets by like maybe like 1/2 inch or something like that at the very bottom. But to be honest, I think there's no need to do that. I think probably, you know, my sort of preference would be glue it down at the back and pull it round like that, because then that's going to be, you know, sort of more yeah, more room in your pocket. You're not compromising your pocket at all. Let me just get a blue butterfly, because I'm feeling like this definitely could do with a butterfly somewhere. And I mean, the other thing is, these really make the best of your, you know, pretty papers and things, because obviously, you know, although we've got the flower obviously from the laminate, your pretty papers are really kind of like on display, you know, where sometimes they maybe are buried under stuff or, you know, lost or anything. These are then, you know, a really gorgeous main part of the piece, aren't they? So, you know, could just kind of staple your butterfly on. So I'm just going to staple this here to the side. Oops. Like that. Like that. So like I say, I mean, obviously I've put it right to the side, so it's not really kind of interrupting or interfering with my pocket at all. So yeah, I really hope that you love them. I hope that they've given you some, you know, some food for thought, some inspiration and things to use some of your, you know, transparent stickers. Obviously the transparent stickers, you know, sometimes I find them a bit problematic to use, and stickers generally, you know, and I've talked about this, I kind of struggle to use. So yeah, I loved making these, and yeah, I really hope that you like them. Love having obviously all these ready-made now to use in my journals. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate it if you'd leave a comment below and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks then. Bye.